Welcome everybody to Service Drive Revolution, the international version, the favorite show of NASA, the Westminster Kennel Club, and the Hamburger Association of America and Canada.
Yes, I'm a
Please
dual
say
member.
hello to Christian.
Hello, everyone.
To Adam.
Hello, everyone.
And to the handsome Jeremy. Today, we are going to talk about the conspiracy behind the part shortages, the differences between advisors in truck dealerships and car dealerships, and how dealers can build customer loyalty. But first, we're going to talk to Jeremy about why there is a controversy with our book club. Who is discouraging our little book club?
Yeah,
Look,
Jeremy.
man, the consumers. I mean, I don't really know,
One guy.
how to put it.
One guy says, one guy that's probably never read a book in his life since college. Yeah, college for sure. That guy went to college.
Yep.
I have my book, boys. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Oh, that guy? Oh,
Yeah, this
sure.
guy, a little coach called, his name is Pete Carroll. That's 2 R's and 2 L's. He wrote a book called Win Forever, Live, Work, and Play Like a Champion. And if you see, I have gone to the trouble of highlighting some areas of this book that might be of interest to you guys. First
quick
of all,
question. Is it throwing a pass in an end zone when he obviously should have handed off to the best running back in the league and losing a Super Bowl? Is there a chapter on that?
Good news for us. He wrote this before that happened. That's the good news.
You should see if there's an updated version.
On page 79, he has a pyramid that looks very similar to somebody else's pyramid. But it's the Win Forever, working to maximize your potential pyramid. And it starts with knowing you're going to win. It all starts with your belief that you're going to win. Then focus. There's the reason why I'm reading this, Jeremy, is because there's one on here specifically for you. So then we have focus coming down, and then we have practice is everything. Practice is everything. How you practice is how you play. It's who you are. It's everything. And then we have competition. Always compete. You're either competing or you're not, in a relentless pursuit of a competitive edge. And then the last one is a philosophy, right? And the philosophy is your beliefs. It's all about the ball. Everything counts. Respect everyone. And your style, great effort, great enthusiasm, great toughness, play smart. And the rules, always protect the team. Number 2 is no whining, no complaining, no excuses. And number 3, you want to guess what number 3 is, Jeremy?
No. Throw the pass in the end zone as opposed to handing it off.
No, be early.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting. You know, all this talk has gotten me thinking about fall, like football and September, and it's getting really, really close to that great time of year. And it makes me think about pumpkins. What did the pumpkin say at church?
What?
Praise the Gourd.
No.
I don't get it.
No, it'd be praise gourd. That'd be better. That'd really finish it up, I think.
Okay, I'll do it better next time.
I'm not going to read it to you guys, but Adam, there is a kind of what we might say is a poem on page 214 called Always Compete. I think maybe Pete took his shot at some poetry. It's beautiful. But exciting time right now because football season is upon us. It is the best time of the year. I'm already, even though it's the beginning of the season, I'm already worried about it ending.
It's funny.
Yeah. What's going on the streets, Adam? What are you hearing? What's the news on the street?
Well, I would say that I don't think football started in Chicago. I don't think it's going to start in Chicago. Hence, I do believe that baseball's still going on, so I will continue to watch my Sox win. Actually going to a game tonight, so I'm pretty stoked about that. And I'd say my book, I think, is it's going to be a new one, as I know I was kind of, not having that the last couple of sessions. So Larry Wingett, I think I had a book on him a couple times before, right? And it's called Work for a Reason. I think what's going on in these days is people need to step up and go back to work. And I say that in the most kindest way possible. But I just started this book. I just got back from TMC. So I'll be honest, but it's kind of a quick read. I took your advice there, Chris, and said, if you're kind of listening or reading a book and it just kind of, you can't finish it within well, for me, it's like 10 cups of coffee. It's probably not worth reading or listening to. So Larry's always an engaging author. So I really appreciate his bluntness on things, right? So one thing that I appreciate on getting to work is the busy work. There's a lot of items or things that people think that just because they're busy, they're adding value. And that's not necessarily true. And I like the fact that he goes, well, I'm going to cite something. So he said 50% of the time people are doing work, are keeping busy, but they're not actually adding value to what they're doing or to the business. And he goes, I'm not even going to look up the facts or anything like that. He goes, I just, it's true. And it's kind of interesting. So you kind of try to do that reflection, and he goes, yeah, you'll spend a little bit more time, getting that 10-minute, cup of coffee. It might turn into 30 minutes or whatever. And then he goes into a little segment that you're stealing. And he goes, you're a thief. And then you're kind of thinking about it, and it's like, well, if you're adding more value than what's expected of your employer, then you're probably not a thief. But if you're adding additional time and actually not working hard and adding value, then you were a thief. So I kind of found that a little bit interesting in this segment, and you do a little reflection, and you're like, holy crap, that one time maybe I was a kind of a thief or whatever. And it's like, it really kind of gives you that time to reflect. But I think right now with everything going on, I think we talked about this before. A lot of the service around in restaurants or renting a car or whatever, it's lacking. But there are people that are really shining and coming to the challenge. We were just at a little restaurant last night, and there was probably about 20 tables, and there was like 3 servers for those, and they were all packed. So you have to be patient, but these 3 girls were hustling, man. They were definitely adding value, way more than expected, and they kept being apologetic. But I think we just have to add a little bit more patience to what we're working as a consumer. But definitely raise to the challenge, and they call it work for a reason. So that's the word on the streets, Chris.
I like that. I love Larry Wingett, and what a great time we live in that we need to write a book called It's Work, right?
Oh yeah, it's work.
Nobody's writing the book, It's Lunch.
Don't miss it.
I love Larry. He's the greatest. He's so funny too. What about you, Christian?
So I am reading a book called, it's hard to see.
Oh, Chase Hughes?
Yes, the Ellipsis Manual. So I'm doing...
Just randomly open up to a page and read. Just read.
When the cognitive system in a subject becomes loaded with scenario management, behavior regulation during deception, the movement of the body sometimes comes to a near halt.
There you go.
And that's...
You told me that it's on audiobook now.
Yeah, so what I'm doing, guys,
is I'm going to buy just to hear that.
Right. So I'm actually reading the book physically and doing the audiobook at the same time just to completely mess my mind up. But it's really interesting. It's from the subtitle is The Analysis and Engineering of Human Behavior, which is really, really fascinating to me. And it's something that Chris has been working on for a really, really long time. But now to kind of pull the curtain back a little bit, and there's a lot of really cool techniques that I think are really effective in terms of coaching and how to try to have influence on people. And really just, I think the big thing is I'm really focused right now with clients and hearing what they're saying, right? It's not necessarily the words exactly that are coming out of their mouth. It's a combination of their verbal and nonverbal. And I think that that's a book that can really help to get us to focus in on what people are really saying.
Yeah. And I think a little bit of what you're saying there is kind of one of the lessons in Chase Hughes's stuff is that you have to take yourself out of the equation so then you can pay attention to what other people need, in a sense.
Yeah.
Am I explaining that
Yes.
right?
Very voyeuristic for sure. Like you're watching and observing.
Yeah, but he's the greatest. The greatest. Anything by Chase Hughes. He's got tons of videos on YouTube. He does, what is the show called that he does with the other three guys?
I remember.
Something panel. But yeah, he's the greatest. That's a great book, but it is dense. It's like kind of like Jordan Peterson's Maps of Meaning. Like
Very similar.
you got to sit there, read a couple pages, and then you got to think about it, and then read them again. But I kind of like books like that sometimes. Like I've never been a fan of speed reading.
I respect people that can do it, but I can't. I'd never retain anything.
Yeah, it's not.
I can't either.
I don't like
need to
it.
absorb it.
I don't want
digest
it.
it a little bit.
Would you want that, Adam? I enjoy the
I need
reading.
that. Well, the whole point of reading is I want to be able to understand it, digest it, and then a little bit further processing and apply it. If
Apply
I can take
is
something and apply
Yep.
it,
Yeah.
right? And it's all about that thought process. Because I agree with you, Christian. Like the understanding, kind of the inner workings on how people are thinking, and in the dialogue and discussion, and then not trying to make your next play. Because I agree in that listening segment. Jordan Peterson had that in his rules for life, right? About separating yourself to truly don't focus on what you're trying to say next. Really focus on listening to, capturing what that individual's saying. And I think we definitely need to do a better job in that in the industry for sure.
Oh, it's hard to do. Like I'm always like reminding myself after the fact, like, hey, you could talk way less, dude.
It's hard.
Yeah,
it is.
It's
Especially
really
when
hard.
you're an extrovert and you're always talking with folks, right? I think part of it is really just stopping and listening.
Yeah, it's good.
And analyzing like what you're saying, does it have value? I think that's a big part of it too. Sometimes, like especially as all of us, we've all been in front of classrooms, and to that point where we're like coaching and educating. It's like sometimes I think we have to look and say we're literally talking just to hear ourselves speak. So I think that this book says the person on the other side of the equation is just as important, if not more. That's what I'm really liking.
Yeah, I always go back to, in my mind, I've had two experiences that really stuck out to me. One was early on. I was in my mid-20s, and I was visiting a client who was a dealer, and my boss came because I was doing such a good job in this store. My boss wanted to come take credit, basically, is what happened. And he shows up, and the dealer is talking to him. We're in the dealer's office, and he's talking something about softball. And my boss at the time was kind of so nervous and awkward that he said something to the effect that he had pitched a no-hitter in softball, which is like impossible.
It's like being a really good bowler.
And so I always think about that. And then I had another, one of the coaches that worked for us. He was actually in charge of all the coaches once. Same thing, we were sitting with the dealer. He was so nervous. The dealer was talking about how his kids were going to a private school in Hawaii. And the guy literally said, oh yeah, my kids went to that same school. And when we left, I'm like, dude, you've never even been to Hawaii. You get so caught up in yourself or something that so I always try to remember that I could be that. Like I could very easily just be trying so hard to be liked or to add to the conversation that, it's better if you just shut up and listen. It's good stuff. Okay, Jeremy had two great topics today that I think are great. So, Jeremy, you want to introduce the first one about advisors and then kind of set us up with your thoughts on it?
Yeah, the first topic I want to talk about today is the differences between advisors in truck versus auto. I've been to a lot of dealerships, obviously discussed a lot of advisors in the truck world, and we obviously trained a lot of advisors as well. But I mean, the one thing I was looking for insight on is what's the differences between the advisors you see most of the time in the auto world and the ones that I see in the truck world. And kind of what can we do to make sure that despite the fact that there's differences between the two, how can we make sure that the advisors in the truck world are still doing their best to take care of the customers and providing that experience that we're all looking for, whether you're a truck driver or you own a Caprice or something like that you're still able to feel valued as a customer. And I know there's a lot of mechanisms built into the auto industry to reinforce that with advisors, but we don't have a lot of that in truck. So I was looking to kind of compare and contrast there.
So I think if we want this to make sense, maybe we should divide it into two parts. One is the external, and then the internal. So the external part of it is that in truck we're more B2B, so it's more business to business in a sense, and in car it's more B2C, more business to consumer. And so that does create its nuances and its differences, because B2B is more transactional, and I think it's perceived as more transactional. But what we have discovered and what we witness all the time is the truth of the matter is even though it's B2B on the truck side, it's still people. And those people still want to be liked. They still want to feel like they're heard, and they still want to feel like they're important. And I think oftentimes we approach it a lot like it's just paperwork, it's just a warranty, it's just a fleet. And we miss the part that on the other side of that, those fleet managers or those people making those decisions have a say in next time they order trucks, right? Their input is valued.
I was going to say, or where they actually go and get it service.
Yeah.
We know that there's some customers that will totally bypass a service location just because of the way that they were treated, right? So I agree. I think kind of have to find that transition instead of a B2B, more of a B2C when it comes into truck.
Yeah. And so I think we miss that as an industry a lot of times, is we don't put the advisors in a position or have the expectation of the advisors that their role is more political and psychological, in the sense of it's to make the process easier and make our clients feel better about it, right? Like we could always go back to the old days when the driver would pull right in the shop and talk to the technician. We've added these layers of personnel like service advisors to improve the communication, to make the customer feel good about it, feel listened to, feel informed, over communicate in a sense, right? And I think we tend to take those things for granted a lot of times.
Yeah, and it's building on Adam's point. We do a survey a lot of terminal managers, larger customers that have smaller outfits near dealerships, and basically surveying their experience with that dealership from the perspective of that terminal manager. And what you'll see a lot is, even if that dealership is not providing class leading uptime, if they have a good rapport and communication with that terminal manager, they still get a ton of business. So it's
about
we like
feelings.
To think of it as, yeah. While we like to think of it as, well, we're dealing with the company, with the business, you're still dealing with people. You're just dealing with less people. And a lot of times they might be more or less technically inclined, but people still want the same things out of life. They will still want to feel valued. They want to feel heard. And you need to provide that experience as an advisor, no matter what you're doing. Whether you're in truck, whether you're in auto, whether you do boats, or you work for even like a hangar for maintenance, for plane maintenance. That's where I come from. You still have to maintain communication with your customers and provide a class-leading experience. Otherwise, your customer is going to go somewhere else.
Well, they have choices. They have choices at the end of the day. And I agree with you, Jeremy, on that, because I think in our experience, we've also seen where, somebody within the dealership predominantly sometimes a service manager, especially working with a terminal manager or local customer, just taking them out to lunch. Even just that instant, taking out to lunch, hearing, listening, having a discussion, just spending the hour there can go a long way on that. When we do hit challenges or roadblocks on turning trucks in a timely manner, there's a little bit more of an understanding. I think it goes a long way.
Yeah, I think that there's a little bit goes into the mindset too of the truck advisor, is that every time you pick up the phone to call the fleet approval or whatever it is, it's an opportunity. Every phone call you make is an opportunity to be the best call that the person on the other end's gotten all day. Because it's in a sea of approvals and the same call over and over again. And then how many hoops does the other person, make you jump through and everything like that? Like being prepared, organized, making the call and making it about the person on the other line. Like I said, every time you pick up the phone, you should be trying to make it the best call for the other person.
Yeah, and just a simple, like, how's your day going? What's going on?
Yeah.
Just simple, not just about the transaction or the commodity. The other thing, and it's interesting because you have a lot of advisors that come from auto working in truck.
Yeah,
It happens a lot in our training, in the classroom. There's been a lot of advisors that say, oh, I was in car, or, they talk about the difference. And so a couple big differences now on the internal side, right? That's the external side. Now we go to the internal side is predominantly 95+% of advisors on the auto side are commission, and a big part of their pay is on customer satisfaction. On the truck side, most advisors are hourly, and there isn't a lot of bonus or incentive for performance or any sort of customer satisfaction, whether we're turning quicker and we have better uptime. I mean, just imagine if advisors were paid on uptime and they had a chance to make a lot more money which would drive more work into the shop, right? So just think about how that would change the mindset of service advisors, because pay plans drive behavior in a lot of cases.
I agree with you on that, Chris. I think also if you were to apply that, you might get more information from the customer to drive it to the tech. There's an incentive behind getting everything every time, executing with some excellence in all of that process of the whole intake and write-up, right? I think if you have that little bit of incentive, I think that's a huge incentive, really, an impact. But have it, somewhat achievable in the sense, though, too.
I do also think that although the turnover in automotive for advisors is higher than we would want, it is lower than in truck. The advisors in truck turnover, at a higher rate. And I don't have the specific numbers, but you can just tell that the turnover is way higher. Do you know the turnover, Jeremy?
For a truck,
Yeah.
I think we're hovering somewhere around 40%.
Yeah.
It's a little higher. I hate to admit, it's between 45 and 50%.
Yeah, and I think that that's a part of it is the pay in auto, even though their turnover is still, not ideal, the pay part does make people stay a little longer because they are incentivized. Then the other part that you hear a lot from the advisors is the difference in the shop, right? So in automotive, you have more of a flat rate shop that's driven by performance, and then truck is mostly hourly. And so the way the work flows and trying to get work done is harder if an advisor comes from auto and goes to truck. They will mention that often, that getting work done is a lot harder because the technicians aren't incentivized the same way. And so, auto just in general is more performance-based in the shop and in the advisor position.
Yeah, I think on the truck side, the thing that I've observed, there's the theory of urgency there. Like they're aware that they need to be fast and uptime's really, really important. On the auto side, what I'm seeing is the presence of urgency in a lot of cases.
Now, I will say one thing, and this won't be popular, but it's the truth, is that the dealers on the auto side and dealers on the truck side are about exactly the same, and how many of them are closed-minded, and how many dealers right now watching this are like, well, why are we talking about auto or truck? Instead of like, well, what could we learn from other industries? It's the same thing on the auto side when you talk about other industries or other ways to do things. Like for example, body shops have really adopted some systems that are very progressive and have accelerated their turn, and the customer experience is drastically improved. And car dealers will be like, yeah, well, we're not a body shop. It's service. It's the same sort of thing where we just somehow, I don't know if it's because our industries have been around so long that we breed that closed-mindedness, but there's that 20% at the top that are trying to learn everything, always trying to improve, always want ideas, ask really good questions. And then there's just kind of everybody else in a sense. And so if you're watching this and you're hearing yourself go, well, auto's completely different. How dare you talk about truck? Yeah, that's pretty common. But there are things to learn. It isn't, we're not saying that one's better than the other. We're just saying like, hey, maybe why don't you test out some sort of bonus thing and see if it works? Or, there might be something there to grab onto.
I have seen a number of times where dealers are starting to put a lot more performance qualifiers into the salary of our service advisors. It's starting to happen. And just because I think they grasp the concept that you have an incentive plan, no matter what. Even if you don't have one, then you're incentivizing your service advisors to process your customers as quickly as possible so they can get through the day. So it's, no matter what, you're making a decision. Even if you decide not just to pay your advisors hourly, you're basically making a decision, we're just going to get what we're going to get. But on the other hand, if you take an intelligent approach to how you pay your advisors, your technicians, and really kind of look at what motivates people and what gets the results you're looking for and what the result you're looking for is, then you're going to have a lot better output. Because as you mentioned, pay plans are a big motivator. Unless you have just that awesome advisor that's going to do the proper thing no matter what, you have to make sure that some element of their performance is tied to their pay. Otherwise, you're going to get what you're going to get.
Yeah, and that's not exclusive to our industry. I know in helping somebody who had a IT technical support company, by incentivizing his techs to, promote uptime and customers never having downtime, because that's how customers grade him, it drastically improved his results and his customers leaving and going somewhere else. So his retention overall improved, and his the morale with his team improved because they had a purpose. They were part of it, and they saw a monetary benefit to them being part of the solution, which tied it to their identity also. So it's not exclusive to our industry. It's human nature more than anything else, I think.
So what I like about that, Chris, is we just need to not put ourselves into a box within our own realm, right? Look outside that box that can be applied across overall. So I agree with you. I came from automotive and then went in a truck. And there are a lot of similarities, and that's through the years, even in my short stint, I've always heard that from a lot of people, whether they were dealers, customers, whomever. Well, this is truck, this is different. Well, I don't think so, because like we've already talked about, people want to be heard. There's still a customer experience. There is still tools, templates, and things that we can apply. I think it's just how we interact with it and apply them that might be a little bit different because of the industry, but still at the end of the day, things need to be serviced, things need to be sold. And we need to keep going with our customers and treating them the way they should be treated or want to be treated, and look outside that box.
Yeah, I'm personally a fan of those sort of systems. Like, there's a lot of examples of it, but I always go back to, where did the drive-through start? Because you have drive-throughs at pharmacies, you have drive-throughs at fast food restaurants, you have drive-throughs at liquor stores in Texas.
Yes.
Banks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so where did it start? And so Wendy's gained a huge market share by introducing the drive-through in the fast food industry. And there were a lot of people, saying like, that's ridiculous, that'll never work. And it ended up being a huge advantage for them. And then I run into this in other industries, helping other, people, is like, there's tons of examples of people doing things in other industries. Like, for example, if you have somebody who has a restaurant and you say, well, what you need is some sort of continuity to your business, right? So, well, that will never work. We're a restaurant. It's like, well, the Soho House does that. Country clubs do that. In fact, country clubs do it, and you have a minimum you have to spend in the restaurant, right? And so, but I've had tons of people at restaurants say, oh, that'll never work, you don't understand. And it's like, I'm not trying to understand. I'm trying to give you ideas. Like, I'm trying to create continuity and revenue to secure your business because it goes up and down. I'm trying to create something that's solid. Same thing with I remember very vividly a doctor helping him and him telling me I'm crazy. And now literally this same doctor is doing about $250,000 a month in continuity, when he told me it would never work. Nobody would ever pay to have a doctor and their supplements and all that. And now, the guy has 2 offices and a couple houses and is doing really well. And so it's really about your mindset and your curiosity. I think whenever we stop being curious and stop listening and asking questions and things become absolute, you've pretty much just cut off any opportunity, because you're absolute. Like, that'll never work. Okay. We don't sell tires.
Or my favorite, Chris, is I'll try. That's instant. One, they're not gonna do anything.
This is a family show here, but I'll try means go
Leap.
truck yourself.
Yep. Go truck yourself. That's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Basically.
For the people listening to this episode, just kind of really think about it. How often do you say the words don't, can't, or never? Really think about it, and why are you saying that? And imagine if you applied that kind of confidence and that kind of decisiveness to a positive statement. What would that be like? I mean, it's one of those things. Just be cognizant of it. I took a bunch of speaking classes where they made me start counting my ums and uhs, and now I do it all the time. Start counting don't, can't, and never, and see how many times you say that in a sentence or in an interaction with somebody.
It's good. So then the next one, Jeremy, and this is another great topic that you had, was how dealers can build customer loyalty. How can, at the dealer level, how can we build customer loyalty? And so start us off with your thoughts on that.
Well, there's a couple of different things here. One of which, you can build an experience. You can make it more than about the customer coming because they broke something on their truck or something's broken. I've been to a couple of dealerships that have, functional elements designed to make customers happy. Like, there's one dealership, I'm going to call you out, Border. Border has a literal functional coffee shop in one of their dealerships. That it's so popular that basically it's not only truckers in there, it's RV customers come there for fun. Book clubs have meetings there. Just customers come off the road. If you were to Google coffee shops in Las Cruces, New Mexico, you'll find Border International. So they work to provide that whole experience for the customer. They have like t-shirts for Border International. They have a bunch of stuff there. So it's more than just come here while your truck is broken. We'll try to get you out as soon as possible. Just try not to bore yourself to death. They try to provide a whole experience. Another one is merchandise is another one. You can have hats and shirts. Make sure that everyone that's comes to your place, if they're one of your frequent customers, give them some stuff. Have them wear a border hat. I have an old truck hat I wear all the time. I'm advertising for a truck dealer in Kentucky most of the time just because I wear their hat. So, I mean, it's inexpensive and it goes a long way. But I did forget about the most important concept, and you filled me in on that one, Chris. What's the most important thing you can do to build customer loyalty, in your opinion?
Just understanding what our customers' issues are and then solving their problem. Business is about solving their problem in an easy way for them, like making it easy for them. And I think our industry oftentimes is like, hey, you got to do it our way. And we set it up for our convenience, and we forget that there's a customer there that is going to make a decision whether they're going to come back and buy their next truck from us again. And we put too many limitations on them and don't make them feel important, and don't make them, they don't at the end of the day feel like we really solved their problem. They feel like it's something they had to do. So making it easy for them, from managing their perspective on how it goes. And it's back to what we were talking about with the advisors, is that can easily be solved just by a relationship. Just like, how are you today? What's going on? And having that personal connection, and not making it just about the commodity.
If you're the customer for your dealership that you work at, would you want to be a customer there? Like, essentially, do you understand the experience your customers are going through at your dealership right now? If you don't, you need to learn. And if you do know it, are you satisfied with it?
Yeah, it's good. It's great stuff. That was fun. I don't think we're going to have time to get to the part shortages and the controversies, but maybe next time we'll have time to talk about that. Anything in closing, gentlemen?
The Bears need to do better. I'll be honest with you. It's been weighing on me all week. I'm happy. I'm kind of a Seahawks fan too, so that's a good thing. But yeah, basically everybody, just take all our discussions with a grain of salt, but really think about it. Think about yourself and think about how you manage, how your location operates, and don't say the words "don't, can, or never." Just don't say them. Don't say them, and look to reframe your experiences, because anything can be made the way you want it to be. It's just a matter of you have to look into it with that decisiveness, as you used to say with "don't, can, or never."
Great stuff.
I think they should. I agree though with you, Jeremy. What you said earlier is, though, the folks out there that are watching this, they should start counting some of those tally marks of "don't, can, or never." I think that would be a good self-reflection. It's really quick and simple, and to where we could possibly try to stop some of those actions or decrease them. Right. I think that's how we continuously improve. So it's all about continuous improvement.
Yep. Great stuff, you guys. Well, we'll see everybody next time on Service Drive Revolution.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Good stuff.